Hello. Testing. All right. Morning, everybody. Hope you're very well. Just have a double check to see that we are streaming. Yeah, cool. Awesome. We are. Looks like we're just about to go in the groups as well. So hold on to your hats. I've just got to update some titles and we'll be on our way to doing some Q&A. If you are in, good morning. Thanks for joining us. If you're not just yet, I'll give you a minute to pop on board and say good day. Sorry, I know every week I say the same thing, but it's the way Facebook has changed everything. It makes it really hard for us to get live across multiple platforms. Hey, Renee, how are you? Lovely. It's good to see your smiling face. Well, I can't really see it, but see your text. I can see your smile behind your text. How about that? I guess that sounds good enough. Anyway, all right. Good morning. Hope everybody is having a flippin' awesome Tuesday. Running off 3.5 hours sleep. It's good. Really good. That's good, mate. Yeah. A health coach having fuck all sleep is not a good thing, but you know what? I'm human just like everybody else and allowed to have those ups and downs. So it's part of life. I'm not going to let that get me down. I'm going to kick ass and keep moving forward. All right. If you have any questions you want to ask me live, please drop them in the chat box. If I don't get to them today, I'll get to them next week, or I'll send you a DM, and we can make sure that we answer it for you. I'm just checking everything else. It's like taking forever to get into the groups. If you are waiting for me, I'm sorry. Bear with me for a moment. I don't know why the old Facebook is being a penis today, but I'm doing my absolute best. If you can't, just jump on my profile and you'll be able to see it there. Cool. 20 questions in 20 minutes today. Hey, Shawnee, good morning, mate. How are you? Lovely to see your smiling text today. Dear. All right. Let's get ripping in. I can't see why it's not streaming in the groups, but I'm really sorry if it isn't. And cool, let's get on with it. What's the best way to get back on track after a weekend of overeating? A weekend of overeating can really ruin all your progress. So let's be mindful of that first. But one weekend out of 52 weekends in the year is not going to ruin your entire process for the entire year. So let's start with that. Let's start with the mindset around it. So you can reset from where you started off on a Friday or where you ended on a Friday on the Monday. That's for sure. There are plenty of options or opportunities for people to binge eat on the weekend. It's being mindful of picking maybe one meal out of the whole weekend to have as a high-calorie meal rather than the entire weekend of overeating. That's probably one of the things we need to focus on before. But just remember, one weekend out of 52 is not going to ruin your entire progress. It happens. It definitely happens. The best way to get back on track is go back to your meal plan or go back to eating full whole foods, go back to eating lean proteins, plenty of veggies, standard whole grains, carbohydrates, potatoes. Let's get back into eating whole foods again so we can stabilize everything. Get back into drinking plenty of water so we can rehydrate, because if we are having high calorie meals, chances are we are full of sugar and salt, and definitely that takes a lot of our water out of the system. So let's rehydrate and let's avoid over restricting the foods that we like, because that tends to what happens to lead to us having big binge sessions on the weekend. So be mindful. If you're going to have a blowout on the weekend, just pick one meal to have a blowout on. That way you can restrict the amount of calories you're going to inhale over the weekend. How can I meal prep if I don't like eating the same thing every single day? That's a really good question. Let's say have a staple amount of good whole new ingredients in your kitchen or in your fridge, i.e. lean proteins, plenty of veggies, plenty of fruits, plenty of like natural carbohydrates, make sure we get a mixture of them daily. Like, don't if you don't like eating the same thing every day, mix around your type of vegetables. So have 5 or 6 different varieties so you can mix and match. Especially if you're making salads all the time for lunches and things like that. I like to have baby spinach as well as lettuce, so I can alternate between the two for taste. Tomatoes, cucumbers, capsicum, plenty of avocados for healthy fats, all that stuff. Have a mixture of it. Pre-cut mushrooms as well, really good because you can grab them and chuck them in. So yeah, get a ton or a variety of different lean proteins and fruit and vegetables, and have them handy so you can rotate between them all. The other thing is to use different types of herbs and spices or mixtures of herbs and spices on your meals, on your food, especially your proteins. For example, morning, Julie. For example, I like to rotate between taco seasoning or Cajun spice or all-purpose spice, or some of those barbecue rubs are really, really good. They're very low in calories, so that gives me a different variety of flavors, which helps during the week. That's probably another good idea to have different types of ways of cooking things. Like grill your chicken or roast your chicken or pan fry it in, a spray of olive oil or a non-stick pan as well. Like, just different types of ways of cooking, so you've got varieties as well. But if you plan ahead and have some sort of rotation every single day, things won't get boring. That's if you don't like eating the same thing every day. For me, I like to eat the same thing every day because it's very consistent, it's convenient, and it's also calorie driven for myself, so I know what I'm getting in every single day. So yeah, if you meal prep well enough with a variety of different proteins, vegetables, fruits, carbs, healthy fats, you won't go astray when it comes in terms of having a selection, if that's what you like to do. Do I need to count calories to lose weight? Not necessarily. Do you need to understand calories to lose weight? Yes, you definitely do. First and foremost, I think you need to educate or get educated on calories, why they matter, how a deficit helps you lose weight. That's probably first and foremost. I don't want people to live a life of having to count calories. That's not what it's all about. The important thing for me is knowing what you're eating and how it's going to fuel you for the day. That's the main thing, personally. That's what we like to do and how we like to coach. So tracking calories are very helpful when you initially start to understand portion sizes, what type of foods have what type of calories involved, the amount of protein in them. That's probably the only macro you really need to track really well when we're first starting on a transformation journey. Fats and carbs, not necessarily needed to be counted. Understood, yes, but not necessarily need to be counted because it's just adding another level of distraction there. So personally, it's just understanding calories and protein first and foremost. Listening to hunger cues is probably the next best thing. Eat until you're satisfied, not stuffed. So if you understand portion sizes, generally you'll be able to go, I'm getting my 250 grams of this, 200 grams of that, 200 grams of that. That's enough for me to have a hearty meal. And then you'll feel satisfied and not stuffed. That's the whole point. But again, eating consistently throughout the day gives you the opportunity to be full enough and have enough fuel in your system to not worry about going to the cupboard and getting nasty snacks. So do I need to count calories to lose weight? Initially, you need to understand and track for a little bit to get it. But after that, I want intuitive eating to come into play, so you know when you're hungry, you eat something, but it's going to fuel you for that moment or for the rest of that day. What's a good post-dinner snack that won't derail my progress? That's pretty cool. Post-dinner, dessert, I guess. Yogurt's probably one of the goats when it comes to low calories, high protein return. You can mix it with protein powder. You can mix it with frozen fruit. You can mix it with a little bit of granola. You can mix it with some dark chocolate. It's very, very versatile. It's probably one of my favorites, cinnamon, sugar, or berries, like things like that. Very, very good. It's one of the goats. The next thing would be low calorie ice creams, not necessarily Halo Top, but like Paul's low calorie standard vanilla ice cream is really good. Aldi has a great vanilla ice cream. It's like 86 calories a serving with low calorie chocolate sauce or caramel sauce, which are really good. You can get them from your local grocery store. A piece of fruit is really good. Good carbs, good sugars. Dark chocolate's really good as well. Actually, studies are starting to show that dark chocolate's one of the best pre-workout snacks. I'll try and find the literature on it I read yesterday and send it through. Apple cottage cheese, yeah, another one of my favorites, Julie. Well played. I like that with a little bit of cinnamon sugar on the top. It's really, really good. Not into having eggs and cheeses and stuff after dinner. That's not something I do. If you like it, great. Cheese has got lots of protein in it. But yeah, try and there's a misconception that you have to stop eating for a certain time. For some people, that's correct, especially if you've got bad digestive issues and your body works overtime to process your foods. But if you like a snack after dinner, like me, I do sometimes. Just figure out what you get left in your calories and have the thing that you like the most. If you're hitting your protein target, it shouldn't matter what you have at the end of the day, as long as it's something you enjoy. But if you're looking to be consistent with calories and protein, I would be going for a yogurt or a low-calorie ice cream. That should sort of tip you over the edge and give you a nice little sweet dessert. How do I make my meals more filling without adding extra calories? Cool. The best thing to do is add more fiber, more vegetables into your meals. That's probably one of the best ones you can do. If we are on a high protein diet, we tend to be looking for more fiber because we need to process that protein really, really quickly. If we don't, we're going to be backed up pretty soon. So adding tons of fiber and vegetables to your diet will really, really help. It's like making spaghetti sauce. I know this is going to go against all the Italians out there, but add as much vegetables as you can into your bolognese because they break down really, really well, especially if you cook it over a long period of time, and it gives you a lot more fiber. Replace standard spaghettis with like bean pastas and stuff like that. That'll give you a ton of fiber. Using like chicken broths and beef broth and stuff like that's a really good flavor enhancer, but also it gives a little bit of extra protein and it's not much more calories. Herbs and spices, again, very low calories to add more flavor. Water-rich foods like cucumbers and watermelon are really satiating when you can eat a big batch of watermelon with like 300 grams and it's only fucking 100 calories and it fills it up really, really well. But if you want to really make sure, pair it with a bit of protein, and that way you're going to fill yourself up even more with low calories. Cool. How do I manage portion sizes when eating out? Well, the problem is you can't, but you can manage how much you put in your gob. For example, if you go to a pub and have a palmy with, just say, vegetables and or chips or something like that, generally the palmies come out and they're massive. So a rule of thumb is usually say a fist is around about 200, 250 grams of protein. So if you can make a fist and put it next to your food and roughly eat that amount if you want to be calorie conscious or portion size conscious, for sure. And then whatever's left over, have a takeaway, take it home and eat the rest for lunch the next day. If you can control it, generally with steaks and stuff like that, they are portion size, 250 grams, 300 gram, or a 400 gram T-bone or things like that. So that's a good way to start off. Prioritize vegetables or salads. Again, they will be portion controlled to a certain degree, but they are good filling foods. Avoid going to all-you-can-eat places. That's probably the next best thing because they're just an absolute calorie trap. You eat until you're stuffed. There's things like mindful eating, eat slowly until you notice when you're full, things like that. But most importantly, it's like if you can roughly get about a fist size of protein, that's about a portion. That should get you through. Another thing to remember is the rule of thirds, where your plate should look like a third of protein, a third of carbs, and a third of vegetables or salad. So if you can do that with your plate, that's a good idea or a rough indication of how much you need to eat. What's the best way to stay active on rest days? Best way is get up and go for a walk every day. Keep the blood flowing, keep your muscles moving. It's good for the headspace as well. Some form of mobility or yoga is quite good on a rest day. Even just doing chores is a form of movement, getting up off your ass. But recovery is recovery. So rest days don't have to be intense. Let's just back them off a bit and do something that's not so taxing on the body and gives your muscles time to recover and rebuild. How do I make my workouts more efficient? The best way is, in my opinion, is to do full body, and maybe 3 a week is going to be efficiency in terms of time. Introducing a lot of compound movements like squats, deadlifts, push-ups, presses, things like that activate not just one muscle like many. Doing supersets are really good in terms of time. So if you're doing say for example a bicep superset, you're going in from a curl to say a hammer curl. That's quite efficient because you can do that double the work in the same amount of rest period. Making sure you're sticking to your rest times. If it says 30 seconds, 30, 35 is enough. Get back into it. Don't do 2 minutes. Don't do 3 minutes. Don't get caught with the old bloke in the corner having a yarn all the time. And also the other thing is to plan ahead. Always look at what your program entails for that day. So if a machine's being taken, you can jump to the next one straight away. That's super important when you walk into a gym, especially if you go at nutcase hour. Nutcase hour, you walk in there and there's fucking nothing left. So if you know what your whole routine is, you'll be able to skip to the next one and be more efficient and then come back later when that machine's free. How do I avoid injuries when lifting heavier weights? Great question. Sorry, guys, I'm just double checking that. Yeah. How do I avoid injuries when lifting heavy weights? Okay, warming up with dynamic stretches or mimic activities for what you're about to do. So, for example, if you're about to do squats, doing bodyweight squats or bar-only squats are a great way to warm up and avoid injury. I'm not a big fan of doing, running 30 minutes on a treadmill before I go and lift. I think a 5-minute walk's just enough. Most of the time, walking from your car into the gym is a good little warm-up and starts getting the blood flow going. But mimicking the movement you're about to do is the best way to start. A little bit of dynamic stretches, not too bad. Focusing on proper form before increasing your load is another one that's super important so you can avoid injury. Using a spotter or safety bars or safety pins when going for that 1 RM. That's another thing that's super important, but also listening to your body. If your body is screaming out to you saying you can't do it and you're trying to push that little bit further and you don't have a spotter, generally can lead to injury. So let's be mindful of that. Form's king. Drop the weights. If you know your squat's not going full depth, drop the weights, get it full depth. I'd rather you do that than get to the bottom and max out all the time without having somebody there to help you out. How do I stay consistent with cardio when I hate running? Don't fucking run. Simple as that. Low impact options like cycling, swimming, or walking are your best bet when it comes to doing some form of cardio. If you can move every single day, if you drink plenty of water, you'll be up peeing all the time, so you'll be getting your steps in. Walking is the unsung hero when it comes to cardio. So if you want longevity and something that you can do with your family, your dog, just about anyone, walking is the best form of cardio out there, in my opinion. If you don't want to walk, go for a swim, go for a ride. They're good low impacts, especially if you're on the heavier side. If you are on the heavier side, you've got to remember any form of impact work is going to affect your joints, and we don't want to do that because we want to be able to lift weights. So, if you don't like running, don't run, just keep walking. What's the best way to improve my balance? Really good question. I say that all the time because they are really good questions. Practice unilateral or single leg or single arm workouts. That's a good way to improve your balance. Generally, if you're right-footed, your left foot is weaker or vice versa. So we want to make sure that we're working both limbs at the same time so we can get our balance right. So unilateral work, single leg work is the best way to improve your balance. Also, core stability, another way to improve your balance, which is really good. Making sure we are bracing our core when we're doing compound lifts, making sure we are incorporating some form of core workout. It doesn't have to be every day or every second day is quite good. Some form of maybe mobility work, yoga or Pilates is quite good for core stability as well. But remember, it's not going to happen straight away. It's something we've got to work on. So if you do have an imbalance with, say, your left leg or your right leg, unilateral work is going to really help improve that. How can I make bodyweight exercises harder? Tempo is probably the best way. Slow down the movement. Longer time under tension increases your difficulty. What does that mean? Slow it down. So, for example, don't just do, push-ups like that. There's no tomorrow. Do full range of motion push-ups. Lock the arms out at the top, come down chest to the floor. That's the best way to slow the tempo down. There's another way of doing they call it 2-0-2-0. 2 seconds up, 0 seconds hold, 2 seconds down. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, instead of doing it like that. That's what you call tempo moves. Add pauses in the middle at the most challenging part, at full stretch, or when the muscle's relaxed. Doing 1.25 reps are quite good as well for bodyweight exercises to make them harder. Single limb variation. So, for example, we use the push-up. You can use a stability ball and have that as one arm doing a lot more load. Increasing your reps, increasing your sets, and reducing your rest times is another way of doing it. How important is stretching for recovery? It's pretty important in terms of reducing muscle tightness and soreness and improving a little bit of flexibility. Static stretches are great at the end of a workout, not at the start, when your muscles are already warm. So even 5 or 10, they can really enhance your overall recovery time and ability. So let's just make sure we do static stretches at the end, not at the start, because your muscles aren't warm enough to do static stretches. Okay, so mimicking the exercise beforehand is the best way to start, but for recovery, static stretches are much better. Okay. How can I improve the quality of my sleep? Create a consistent bedtime routine to signal your body it's time to sleep. Keep your room dark, quiet, cool, for optimal rest, depending on if you're male or female, because I know the women overheat a little bit more than us, so it's quite important. Limit your caffeine in the afternoon can help and can definitely hinder your sleep. Avoiding screen time is quite good, but for me, it's doing something that relaxes you before you go to sleep. It's easy to say because some of us work all hours of the night, but consistency is the best way to improve the quality of your sleep. That's totally for sure. What are the benefits of active recovery days? Promotes blood flow to the muscles to speed up recovery. I can't even speak this morning. Helps prevent stiffness and keeps you moving without strain, which is quite good, especially when we're older, because it takes a lot longer for us to recover. Reduce stress and improves mobility in low intensity activities. Supports long-term consistency by preventing burnout. That's what the benefits of recovery days are. But it's also to keep your mindset refreshed as well. If you're putting your body through a lot of stress and strain, your mind does go through the same thing. So we've got to be mindful of that. We need to have a little bit of a break and have some recovery so we can get back in. Generally, if you do have, for example, deload weeks, you do a PR the week after because your muscles have had enough time to rest and recover, so you can actually get the most out of them. So very, very important. How do I know if I need more rest days? Generally, if you're persistently fatigued, if you're irritable, if you're angry, if your performance in your workouts are shithouse, like you go to do your normal lifts and you can't do them properly. For example, this morning, because I had fuck all sleep, my lifts were absolute shit. And I know that because I had no energy. If you're struggling to recover quick from workouts, maybe if you're feeling sore for 3 or 4 days after rather than 2, if you have trouble sleeping or staying motivated to train, generally, if you're not listening to your body, if you're pushing yourself through the absolute limits, will lead to injury. So just have your rest day. It's just as important as leg day. How do I stay motivated during a long fitness journey? Having mini goals to start with is more important than the big goal, that's for sure. Focusing on non-scale victories is another thing, like your energy, your mood, your strength improvements, your photos before and after, seeing how your body's moving rather than just weights and measurements, because they can be very daunting on the mindset. Celebrate the little wins, just as important as the big ones. The mini goals, when you get to a mini goal, celebrate it, because you'll get to more mini goals than you will to big goals. So celebrate the mini wins and it will keep you moving forward. Remind yourself of your why you started, why you're here, why you're doing this transformation. And don't forget, shit happens. You've got to be flexible. You've got to get ready for that curveball that's getting pitched at you. The best way to learn how to hit a curveball is to practice being in front of more curveballs. It's not going to be a fastball all the time so you can hit a home run. Sometimes they're going to throw a curveball at you and you've got to know when to either leave it or when to smack it out of the park. So the more curveballs you face, the more likely it is that you'll be able to handle when they get thrown at you. How do I deal with setbacks or missed workouts? Okay, shit happens again. Acknowledge that it happens. Don't feel guilty. It's part of life. It's always going to happen. Something's always going to pop up every single day to ruin your day. You've got to be able to be flexible be flexible with it so you can get through the journey. I hate this saying, but it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's not going to be a 10-second and it's over. It's going to be 2 years in the making. Some people it takes 6 months to lose 5 kilos, 10 kilos. Some people it takes 10 weeks, 15 weeks. Everybody's different, but they've all got the same goal in mind. It's a long game. It's not the short game. The long game's the most important part. So adjust on the fly. You have to learn how to adjust on the fly. If you have young kids and you have gym workout booked in at 4 o'clock and your kid hasn't slept all night, how are you going to be able to go to the gym if you haven't slept as well? So remember, one missed workout is not going to derail your progress. You can do it the next day or the day after. And if you've got something like a full body session in your program, you'll be able to do more in the hour and hit most of your body parts and be more efficient. So when you're in that position, being more efficient is more important. How do I overcome self-doubt in my fitness journey? Okay, this is a really good mindset tip for anybody out there that is full of self-doubt, because most of us that are starting a transformation journey are. You've got to reflect back on how far you've come, even if the progress feels slow. That's probably one of the most important things. We are so hung up on quick fix results, hence why we're always on Instagram looking at the next greatest thing for fat loss and carnivore and keto and all that bullshit that's out there. It's all just a deficit at the end of the day. There is no quick fix solution. Okay, progress is slow and it does take time. But if you can reflect on how far you've come during the journey and look back and say, you know what, all that effort and work that I've done over the last XYZ amount of months is not to nothing. It's actually got me to where I am now. The next thing is to have a bunch of support around you when the shit does hit the fan. You need a circle of people who encourage you, who lift you up when you need it, but also pat you on the back when you've done a good job. You need that to get through any sort of transformation journey. If you have the wrong people around you, you will fail one day and they will just applaud you on your failure. They'll kick you to the curb. But if you have those people that will lift you up when you do fail and say, hey, dust it off, let's get back into it, generally you will succeed. That's for sure. Having realistic expectations definitely does help. Like I said before, you can have a big goal, but you've got to have tons of mini goals to get to before you get to that big goal. And remembering that consistency always wins. Consistency is more important than anything. If you can show up, if you say to yourself, I'm going to the gym 3 days a week and you miss Monday, but you do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, that's consistency. Okay. You've got to be able to be flexible on the fly, but consistency wins all the time. Calorie deficit is about eating roughly around the same amount of calories per day. It's not saying you have to be bang on this target. It's plus or minus 100 here and there. That's consistency. In fact, at the end of the week, your average is what it's supposed to be per day. That's consistency. If you have one day at 500 calories over and one day at 500 calories under, still consistency. Okay, it's still consistency. So that's the most important thing. Last but not least, how can I make fitness a lifelong habit? Do things that you enjoy doing that make the lifelong habit sustainable. If you don't like running or lifting weights, don't do that. Do something that makes you happy. I repeat, do it what makes you happy, and the fitness journey will be a lifelong habit. I like cycling, so I do that. I like CrossFit, so I do that. I like lifting weights, so I do that. It makes me happy. I'm not a big fan of yoga. I don't do it all the time because it's not something that I really enjoy too much, so I don't do it. I used to like running. I'm back to not really liking running much anymore, so I don't do it anymore. I do the things that make me happy, and then I can make it a lifelong habit because I really enjoy doing it. If it's a daily routine and a non-negotiable and it's enhancing your mental and physical health, it's definitely going to be a lifelong habit because it's making you happier. So if it makes you happy and you want to do it all the time, it'll be something that you can show up to every single day and be super consistent with. All right, cool. Thank you for your attention this morning. And I apologize to the groups. I've got like a spinning wheel of death here on my screen and it's saying that it hasn't gone into the groups this morning. So I do want to apologize to anybody out there that's trying to get in and watch it. I'm really, really sorry. It's not my fault. But to all of you that did join me, thank you very much. Again, send me a DM if you've got any questions that you want answered personally. I'll be more than happy to do that anytime. Apart from that, enjoy the